This is a tutorial for the music lyrics portrait, and we're going to go through all the steps. Feel free to pause it when you need to. For my first step, I need a really nice, crisp, clear portrait to work with, and I'm going to go ahead and crop it so that it is up close and only of the face. When I hit enter, it allows me to crop. Now I'm going to add a new layer and create that layer as a solid black. So I'm going to go down to my circle that is split into black and white and find solid color. I'm going to select black and hit OK. That creates a solid layer of black on top of my portrait. I'm now going to add music lyrics of my choice. If there are swear words, you need to eliminate the swear words in the music lyrics. And I'm going to choose the text tool on the sidebar, and I'm going to click and drag so that my entire project is filled with the ability to type text. Now up at the top bar here, there's some options for text that we're going to play with later, but first I need to find the text online so that I don't need to type it all out. So you're going to open a web page, and I could search under, let's just do Beatles lyrics for now. This azlyrics.com is really helpful. You can kind of search for any song by any artist and they usually have the lyrics. So these are all the songs. I'm going to choose 8 days a week, and here we have all the lyrics. I'm going to go ahead and highlight them all, right click on it and say copy, and then I'm going to go to my Photoshop document and I'm going to right click and say paste right into that text box. Now you'll notice a few things. Sometimes it is in a different font than you want, and sometimes it's not the right size that you want or the right spacing. We're going to fill the entire square with the song lyrics, even if they're replicated. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that it makes my job a little bit easier. I'm going to go back to my text. When I click on it, it allows me to manipulate my text. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the second line, hit backspace, and then add a space. And I'm going to do that through my entire lyrics so that there is no spaces in between the lines. This might take just a little bit, so I'm going to pause and show you my progress. Alright, so you'll notice that as I continue to do that, I just eliminated all spaces so that the entire box is filled with text. I'm going to highlight the whole text. I'm going to make sure it's on Arial font. I'm going to make sure the font size is 14. If it's a different color, I can click on this color box and I want my text to be white. And then what I'm going to do is just very simply right click, say copy, and then paste it right afterwards. If it needs a space, you can go in and space. I'm going to do that again. If there's any black areas like this that we didn't account for, then I just go ahead and remove that space. And I'm going to do this, repeat the song over and over so that it fills the entire square. And yes, it does take a little bit of time to remove all of these little black areas and to make sure it fills the space, but it is quite a bit easier than typing out all the lyrics yourself, which is an option. Alright, I'm almost there, so I'm just go ahead and paste it over and over again, removing the black areas as I go. There we go. I want to make sure that the entire rectangle is filled with text. I'm going to go ahead and back up so you can see the whole thing. There we go. Now this next step is a little bit complicated. And you need to do it in the correct order. So if you need to pause and rewind, if something goes wrong, you need to do that. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to select our background option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the background, and even though we don't see it here, whatever I do to this is manipulating the background since I have it selected. If it's easier to click the eyes on the other layers just so you can visualize it, that's fine too. And so once my background is selected, I'm going to use a shortcut to select the entire background. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Control and hit A. So when I hit Control A, you'll see this dotted line come around my work, which means I've selected that layer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that selection, and I'm going to use another shortcut. So with this selected, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control C. And you don't see anything change, but I know that I have that copied. After I hit Control C, I'm going to come up to my layer mask on my text layer, and I'm going to hold Alt and click this layer mask. And what happens when I hold Alt and click is I can see the layer mask right here. I'm going to paste in that background that I just copied. So to paste it in, I'm going to hit Control V. And when I do that, you'll notice that I have my background that I just selected and copied, and it now got pasted into this layer mask. So if the face you're using is not in this text layer mask, you might need to back up a few steps and try that again. Once you have that pasted in, just go ahead and, whoops, I just zoomed in. Just go ahead and hit one of your layers over here to kind of pop you off of it. And you'll notice that I've already just created this really interesting effect where your text is over your portrait, and now I'm just kind of finagling and making sure that I really like the lights and the darks. Right now I don't see as much of his face as I would like. It's still selected, so I'm just going to go ahead and deselect so that I don't have it selected. One thing you can do to manipulate the lightness and darkness of this portrait is if you duplicate your text, it will get brighter. So what I do for that is I select this layer, I right click on it, and if I say duplicate layer, you'll notice that it just brightened that up. You also can play with the opacity. So notice it's at 100%, and if I bring it down, it's going to get a bit darker. So you can play with that as well. Once you really like the picture that you have, you can flatten the image by right-clicking on a layer and saying flatten image, so it's all one. And you could go ahead and adjust like your brightness, your contrast, and see if that gives you more of a look than you want. I kind of like it just like that. When you're happy with it, you go ahead and save it as a JPEG and submit it as your final.